Why do they look like that? It's a simple reason, right? How big is the Earth? The Earth is a rock. It's a certain size. It has a certain mass. And that's why everything looks the way it does. That's why I look the way I do. That's why the trees have trunks that are strong enough to hold themselves upright and grow and reach out to try and capture the sunlight. And they have to be that strong because the force of gravity is pulling them down, and that's directly a result of how big the Earth is. Well, let's say the Earth was a quarter of the size. There'd be a quarter less mass, a quarter of the mass, a quarter of the gravity. Everything would be completely different. These trees wouldn't have to be this strong to grow upright like that. Maybe they'd be little spindly things. You know, they could just, like blades of grass reach out. Maybe they'd be 10 times higher because there would be less gravity pulling on them. In a world with 1/4 the gravity of the Earth, perhaps these trees would be 10 times higher. They'd have no problem growing against the gravity, and they would shoot up thousands of feet, and they wouldn't have to have really strong trunks. They could sway around in the atmosphere like wisps of grass. I wouldn't need this skeletal system to help me move around. My brain encased in a skull, because in this gravity, if I fall down and bump my head, I don't want to damage my brain, right? So I evolved like this. But maybe if there was a quarter of the gravity, I could fall down and not worry about hurting my brain. It wouldn't have to be encased in a skull. You know, maybe my brain could be scattered around in my body, not just in one spot, kind of like an octopus. Could be all the limbs. I could have brains everywhere. My brain could be dispersed through my body. I'm already saying hello to another dog. Maybe I'd be a better athlete, right? Because I'd have brains in my hands, I'd have brains in my feet. I could do things quicker, but I wouldn't have a centralized brain, so I wouldn't be as intelligent. I wouldn't be able to make this video. Everything would be different, right? A quarter of the gravity with this skeletal system, the way a human looks now, I could leap up to the top of that tree, 50 feet up, right, like a tick, boom, and I could jump back down and land. And because there's less gravity, I wouldn't need the strength in my legs to absorb the impact. It would look so. The answer of this question, because it's in movies and people ask this question: if we ever encounter aliens, would they look like us? The answer is no, they wouldn't, because they would not come from here. They would look like what is necessary to be alive there, or wherever they're from. A simple analogy is paddle out to the middle of the ocean and then go under the water. There's things that live there. They don't look like us because they don't have to. In the water, with buoyancy, don't have to worry about gravity. You get jellyfish. They don't even have skeletons. Everything is completely different. They don't breathe the atmosphere like this. They have gills to filter out oxygen out of the water. It's all completely different. There's an owl. Imagine if the Earth was 1/4 the size, it would retain much less atmosphere because thered be less gravity holding the atmosphere. Maybe there'd be a thinner atmosphere. Birds would need much bigger wings to stay aloft. You get maybe a sparrow would have a 6-foot wingspan. It's to get them to float on the thinner atmosphere. Okay? It'd be completely different. There would be no sparrows if the atmosphere was 1/4 as thick. Just a tiny little slight change of anything completely changes everything. And the number one factor is the size of the Earth. What if it was 4 times bigger? If the Earth was 4 times bigger, have 4 times as much mass, I'd be lying on the ground right now. I wouldn't be able to support my weight. 4 times as much mass, 4 times the gravity. I weigh about 200 pounds, a little less. 4 times the gravity, I would weigh, what's 4 times 2? I'd weigh 800 pounds. I wouldn't be able to walk around. Marty would weigh 200 pounds. You're getting chubby, Marty. In a world 10 times the size of the Earth, I'd be crushed on the ground. But the air would be so thick because the atmosphere would be retained more easily. There would be a really thick atmosphere. There'd be birds the sizes of mosquitoes because they wouldn't need a very large wingspan to hold themselves up because there's much thicker atmosphere. We'd have mosquito-sized birds flying around. But if the birds are mosquito-sized, how big are the mosquitoes that they would have to eat? It's all very complicated. This skeletal system would not be capable of propelling me around. I wouldn't exist. The force of gravity would pull these leaves down to the ground. These trees would struggle to shoot up like that. Perhaps on a planet where there's 6 times as much gravity as the Earth, there wouldn't be trees. There would be just a lot of vines hugging the ground because they wouldn't be able to work their way up. It would be a creepy crawly vine world. There have been large things that exist on Earth. Remember what was that big fat dinosaur that we used to think ate the leaves on the top of the trees because it has a long neck? The Brontosaurus, right? Remember the pictures when you were in grade school? They had the Brontosaurus walking around, the long neck, and it could reach up to the top of the trees and get the top leaves. That's all bullshit, right? That thing weighed so much, it had so much mass with gravity pushing on it, there's no way it could stand up. It would just, its bone structure would collapse under its own weight. What Brontosauruses actually did is they lived in the water. They were almost fish. They wallowed around in the water, and the reason they had long necks is so that they could, when they got to deep water, they could put their head up like this and breathe. That's what Brontosauruses did, and they ate fish or plankton or something. It's completely different to what we thought, scientists. And it's all like, look around. Every single thing that exists that you see on our Earth is the way it is necessarily because of the size of our Earth and the mass and therefore the gravity that exists here. Everything. The fact that we walk around in a 2-dimensional world on the ground like this on 2 feet, if there was 1/10 the gravity, I'd be jumping around in 3 dimensions. I'd be living vertically as well as horizontally because I wouldn't have gravity pulling me down. I wouldn't need my skeleton. I'd be some sort of an octopus-like squid jellyfish thing that could float around in the soupy atmosphere without very much gravity. It'd be completely different. It would be a completely alien form. And that's why if we ever encounter aliens from anywhere else, they would absolutely, unequivocally not look like us, and then in fact they'd be so alien we might not even understand that we were observing or in the presence of another life form. We wouldn't even know. Everything would be different. You can't even imagine it. Just varying the size of the Earth slightly and everything's different. Everything. Except me. I'd still be here explaining it to you. It would be think of this. How we look here compared to how those little creatures at the bottom of the Pacific Ocean, they're about that big, but they've got the big teeth like this and the gills, and they're going down there. They can't see because there's no light, and they're looking around for, I don't know, some sort of worms that live down there or whatever the hell they do. What they look like with no skeleton, and they have inside their bodies little things that produce light, like one of those bugs that fly around, the light bulbs. Light bulb bugs. How alien they look to us. Something from a different planet that has a different mass would be orders of magnitude more alien than that. How are we so arrogantly stupid and have such a feeling of self-importance to believe that we can go colonize a different planet somewhere else? That we could live on the moon or Mars even. You know how long we'll last on the moon if we go to the moon? We'll last there until the first computer upgrade that doesn't work. And there's a glitch, and then everyone dies. Look around. This is what we get. This is it. And it's absolutely perfect for us. And we have to figure out a way of preserving it and making it last for ourselves and everything else that's on this planet. And that's why these people that have this vision of humans living on Mars or us exploring beyond our solar system and finding another planet to live on is all just a load of horse shit, okay? You get to another planet that's 25% off the size of the Earth by mass, and we would just be uncomfortable. It would just not work. The days are not the same length, and the gravity's not the same. We would not function there. It would be like taking a fish out of the ocean that's used to swimming around with basically zero gravity in the water and putting it on the land here and saying, hey, you know, go for it, enjoy yourself. And we would be like a fish out of water anywhere else. We have to learn how to take care of our Earth and fuck Mars and every other planet that's out there. We'll look at them through telescopes. As far as living there, will never happen. Never. It's just, you know, it's just a science fiction dream, and it's a way for rich people to try and steal money from you. If you're stupid enough to be one of the first guys that pays $10 million to get on that ship to go to Mars, good luck. Enjoy yourself out there. Mars is slightly smaller than the Earth, so there'll be and less atmosphere, so there'll be a whole bunch of ways that you can die out there that you don't know about yet. I wonder how you'll do in the first radiation storm. Oops, we forgot about that. Ah! It's like, you know, that old story of the guy that walk in London and sees a puddle on the ground and says, whoa, isn't that amazing? That water figured out how to fit exactly in that hole indentation in the sidewalk. Precisely, it filled in that hole in the sidewalk exactly. How did it do that? That's because that's the only place that the water could go and be stable. Anywhere else, it would just flow away. But anyways, guys, that's, you know, you got to think about these things when you go for your morning walk, right? Right, Marty? Marty's, he's busy sniffing out the grass and looking for places to poop. But think about that. Next time you're walking around in nature, we take it all for granted, but everything here, every little leaf, every little trunk, tree limb, how high the trees grow, why the rain falls from the clouds, you know, why the stuff on the ground doesn't, when there's a slight wind, doesn't blow up 100 feet in the air, why it stays on the ground because of gravity pulling it down. Everything that we observe is all because the Earth is the size it is. Otherwise, all bets are off, and everything would be it would be like a Dr. Seuss dream world of something that you can't even imagine. Morning walk with Klaus. I'm going to continue walking and contemplating, but I'll let you guys ponder that, and I will catch you guys on the next one.